Hello there, I'm Scott and you're watching Your Experience Guide, and in this video I'm going to be talking about PortAventura World in Salou, Spain. Now the reason I'm talking about this fantastic theme park resort today is because it's recently been reported by loopings.nl and a Spanish business newspaper that PortAventura World may actually be going up for sale for €1 billion. That is a lot of money, and unfortunately I can't afford to buy it. However, in this video I'm going to take a look at which theme park operators may consider buying PortAventura World and just look at the possible outcome of a takeover in what is a very popular theme park in Europe. PortAventura World is made up of 2 theme parks, 1 water park, and according to the internet, 6 hotels, which off the top of my head I couldn't name all of those hotels, but I do know that they do have a lot of hotels, some on site of the theme park and some a little bit further away. However, PortAventura World as a collective resort is a very, very big resort with a huge theme park. Of course, Ferrari Land, which has got huge IPs everywhere. It's got Ferrari logos literally all over the place. Of course, it has its Ferrari Land. You've got the water park, which I've got to be honest, I've never been to. The hotels, which always get good reviews. And it's just a very, very popular theme park destination holiday for us Brits, for Irish people, for the French, and even for the Russians as well. It's a very, very popular theme park resort pretty much all over Europe, to be honest. So the current owners, or operators if you like, of PortAventura are KKR and Invest Industrial, which have had involvement in PortAventura now for quite a while, but they're not like a traditional theme park operator. They're not like Merlin, they're not like Parque Reunidos, they're not like SeaWorld Entertainment or Universal or anything like that. They're very much like a private equity company, investors. They're not a traditional theme park operator as far as I'm aware. They took it over from La Caixa, which is a Spanish bank. I think it was around 2010, 2011 time. And before that, there was involvement from Universal, who owned the park for a little while. And even the Tussauds Group, which eventually sold to Merlin, they had involvement as well. So PortAventura as a theme park and as a resort has already had a lot of owners, considering it only actually opened in 1995. But it's not a surprise to me to see that it is up for sale. I do remember reading during COVID that they were struggling to finance the park going forward. There's a lot of room for expansion, there's room for more hotels, there's potentially room for a third theme park, there's room for expansion in both of the parks already. So it's just a case of, have they come to their limit in terms of how much they want to put into the resort as it is, and have they just seen it as time for them to move on after putting quite a bit of money into things like Ferrari Land, building new hotels. Of course, they've recently opened Uncharted, so it might just be at the point where the current owners have just thought it's time for us to move on. So I'm going to take a look at the potential theme park operators that could take over PortAventura World. However, I must state that it's not actually confirmed that PortAventura World is up for sale right now. It's just rumoured that it will soon be on the market for €1 billion. And going back to a point that I briefly touched on earlier in this video, is that for about 12 months now, it has been rumoured that Universal have been in talks with PortAventura's owners to take over the park, which they used to own back in the 90s. I'll talk more about the possibility of Universal running and owning PortAventura after I've had a look at the other theme park operators that could potentially be interested in PortAventura World. And I'm going to start with one that is obvious, but probably isn't obvious at the same time. And that is, of course, Merlin Entertainments. Us Brits are very familiar with them. They run Alton Towers, Fort Park, Chessington, Legoland. They've obviously got stuff in Blackpool. They're now operating Blackpool Sandcastle. We're all very, very familiar with them in the UK. And of course, something like PortAventura on their portfolio for them would be massive. However, you have to question, have they got the ambition to run a park like PortAventura that is constantly expanding with big new hotels? It needs investment in the theme park. It needs investment in the operational side of the theme park. And I don't know. I don't know if Merlin would want to take that step in terms of taking over the park and then continually investing into the infrastructure with new entertainment complexes, new hotels, new rides. Yes, they've put a lot of money into building new rides in the UK in the last couple of years. Obviously, the refurbing Nemesis. They've got a new coaster opening in 2025 at Alton Towers, Project Horizon. They've just had Mandrill Mayhem open at Chessington and the whole world of Jumanji. They've also got Project Exodus opening at Fort Park. And of course, you've got 2 coasters opening at Legoland next year as well. So Merlin have invested a lot of money in the last 5 or 6 years into getting new coasters ordered and ready to open in the next couple of years. I know a lot of people want to see Merlin invest even more in their parks, like more flat rides, more water rides, and more coasters, of course. But I don't think any of us can say that they've not invested when you look at what they're doing over the next couple of years and what they've done this year as well. However, do I see Merlin at PortAventura? Well, I can imagine them running the park. I can imagine their stamp all over PortAventura, but I don't see them going for it. The next one to look at is Parks Reunidos. I think I've probably butchered that, but they are the current owner of or operator of 19 theme parks worldwide, including Park Warner Madrid, Park the Attractions, Movie Park Germany, all popular theme parks in Europe, but none of which are on the scale of PortAventura. In terms of competition laws, I don't know if they'd be allowed to own Park Warner Madrid and PortAventura. I also don't see them going for it, but I think they were worth a mention purely on the basis of they run Park Warner Madrid. However, for me, they are not the right fit for PortAventura for many reasons. The first one is they don't invest heavily in new coasters very frequently. As an example, look at Park Warner Madrid. In that time that they have been running that park, they've built one major roller coaster, and that was Batman Gotham City Escape, which opened this year. They've been running the park for a very long time. So I don't think they are the right ones. I think they do invest in their parks, don't get me wrong, but it's not continued investment where you'll see them building new roller coasters every 3 or 4 years at those parks. That just doesn't happen. They will invest in the infrastructure maybe, but I don't see them taking on a park like PortAventura and chucking millions at a big new coaster, new hotels. I just don't see it. I don't see them as a likely option. So the third one I'm going to mention is probably a little bit too far out there and probably way off the mark, but with the way that they're investing in their parks that they currently own, and they are throwing a lot of money at them and expanding those parks, I wouldn't rule out SeaWorld Entertainment completely, purely on the basis of they are throwing a lot of money at their theme parks at the minute. You look at SeaWorld, SeaWorld Orlando, they opened Pipeline this year. They're opening another family coaster next year. I've heard rumours they're opening another coaster in 2025 as well. Of course, they've invested in things like Iron Gwazi. They've opened Dark Coaster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. And they are opening other rides in their other SeaWorld parks as well, like a launch log flume, roller coasters. So they are throwing a lot of money at new hardware in their parks. And would they go for a new park in Europe? I don't believe they own any parks in Europe currently. So it would be a way of sort of moving further away from just America for them. But I'm not sure it's going to happen. Whether it would be a good fit or not, I don't know, because from my experiences of doing SeaWorld Orlando, for example, when I went in September last year in 2022, on that day in September, the actual operations of the park were dreadful. I remember about a few hours into the day where we just admitted defeat. We bought Fast Pass. We were like, we're not going to get around everything. The park wasn't even that busy. It was just taking forever to get on any of the rides. So that can already be the case at PortAventura. And I think that whoever comes in, and I'll talk about this a little bit more as we get on through this video, but I do hope whoever takes over PortAventura really does look at the park operations. And you only have to go on Twitter to have a look over the last couple of months when people have been going for Uncharted once it's opened. People have been complaining about the queues for that, the queues for Shambhala, the queues for everything. And it's not queuing that people are complaining about, it's how long those queues are taking. It's queue line fatigue, I think.
Feels like it.
It is now. Shambhala, an hour and 20 minutes. Shambhala on free trains stacking every single time. Like me, Theme Park Worldwide absolutely love PortAventura. They're there every year like we are. They hardly give any negative feedback about the park. We don't either. But even they were tweeting in the summer just saying how bad the operations were, and they were posting pictures like, Shambhala's on free trains, it sounds great, but when all free trains are stacked and it's taking 5 or 6 minutes to send trains, that is not good enough in a park like PortAventura. So whoever comes in, I really do hope they look at the operational side of the park and go, we have to improve on this a lot. The final one that I'm going to talk about is probably the one that we all want to see, and that is a universal takeover of PortAventura, which, like I've said a couple of times now, was heavily rumoured at the end of last year especially. There was people digging up information, looking at Spanish trademarks that Universal registered or allegedly registered. There was people digging up all sorts of information that suggested that a Universal takeover of PortAventura was actually imminent. And then all of a sudden, that talk went very quiet, which made me think that hopefully in the background, there was a lot of work going on and it was going to happen, and all of a sudden they were going to announce that it was happening. Of course, that hasn't happened, and now there's this report that PortAventura is potentially going to be up for sale. So it's at this point that I really hope that we start hearing that Universal are going to step in, they're going to take back the part that used to be theirs, and they are going to run PortAventura at its full potential, which to me would be amazing. I absolutely adore PortAventura. I love going there. I always go 2 or 3 times a year, except for COVID year, obviously. I absolutely love that theme park. I just love being there. I'm not bothered about running around and doing loads of rides all day. There's just something about that place which I think a lot of enthusiasts from the UK feel the same about PortAventura. It's probably because for a lot of us, it was our first sort of European theme park a lot of us went to. So we all have a connection with it. And I still feel like I've got that connection with the park. However, the park does frustrate the life out of me at times with the slow ops and just the queue jumping. And it's all things that I feel like can be fixed. I'm not saying Universal will come in and make it perfect. You can't fix queue jumping. It just happens wherever you go. But you can certainly fix things like the operations and stuff like that. So for me, I think when I've been to Islands of Adventure over in Orlando a couple of times, I always feel like PortAventura could be like Islands of Adventure in terms of how it's operated and just the feel of the park. It does sometimes feel similar. Universal could turn PortAventura into a serious powerhouse of a theme park resort in Europe. And the possibilities of what they could do there are endless. I mean, for example, the first thing you'd hope they would do was sort out the park operations. But then you look at the infrastructure already of PortAventura. They've got a very popular water park, a very popular theme park. Ferrari Land, I'm not sure it's perfect for where it is. I feel like it could be better. I feel like it could have been implemented into the main park. Obviously, that wouldn't have made them as much money. But I feel like Universal would fix things like that. They could potentially make it part of the park or just make it a more attractive second gate option for people rather than people just sort of overlooking it, because the only reason to go in there is Red Force, and once you've done it, you might as well go back into the main park. So I just feel like they could improve stuff like that, definitely. I feel like they'd maybe expand on Ferrari Land or take away the IPs and make it as part of the park. I just feel like they would improve that whole sort of situation of PortAventura Park and Ferrari Land as either separate entities or bringing them together. I feel like they are the people to improve that situation. I was reading on Twitter yesterday that a couple of people were worried that if Universal did take over PortAventura, that they would completely change the park. I don't think they would. I don't think they'd flood it with all of their IPs. I do think that they'd bring some of them in, but I think they would leave it very much as it is and just build on the current infrastructure. Maybe new rides would be the IP rides that they would bring in, but I don't think we'd start seeing like Furious Baco rethemed to a Universal IP. I don't think that would happen. I think they would just leave it as it is and then build around what's already there. And maybe that's when Ferrari Land becomes a Universal IP second gate park, something like that. I certainly think that they wouldn't go in there and just rebrand the whole park. I think they'd very much leave it as it is and build around it. This is very wishful thinking, but you know, if Universal were to take over PortAventura, you never know. We might get a European equivalent of Halloween Horror Nights in PortAventura. PortAventura do go big on their Halloween already, so again, it's an infrastructure that is there and could be built on, definitely. But with all that said, it'll probably be another company like the current owners that take over PortAventura, two separate companies that come together, have the money, and just carry on running it as it is. Which, to me, it wouldn't change anything, and that'd be disappointing. The park would still be what it is. I'd still really like the park, but I just hope that with this opportunity now potentially coming up for PortAventura to be bought, I really do hope we see Universal or another really well-off theme park operator take it over, put their stamp on it whilst keeping it the great park and great place that it already is. So that's all from me today in this video. I didn't really know how this video was going to pan out. I've made some notes. I just wanted to talk about PortAventura because any excuse for me to talk about PortAventura, I will take it because it's a great place. I do really want to see Universal take it over. As soon as I saw those rumours last year, I was just like, please, let it be true. Let it happen. If you look carefully when you go to PortAventura, you will still see signs around the park from when Universal owned the park the last time. For example, some of the Fast Pass signs at Stampedia still say Universal Express on them, and there's little points to Universal around the park, little nods to the ownership that they had of the park back in the day, which you can spot when you're at the park. So who knows, we might be seeing that everywhere again at some point next year or the years after, but that's what I want to see. What would you like to see happen with PortAventura World in Salou? Would you like to see the current owners stay on? Who would you like to see running the park? Merlin, Universal, somebody else? Be interested to know your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It massively helps the channel. In our last video, we had over 500 likes on the video and it has done over 30,000 views. So please, if you can, give us a like. I really do appreciate it. Many thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.